Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today, on the occasion of Bahulashtami, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 36, Text 16. Arishte nihate daitye Arishte nihate daitye Krishnen adbhuta karmanaha Kankshayatayaha Bhagavan Narado Devadarsanaha Arishte Arishta Nihate, having been killed. Daitye, the demon. Krishnena, by Krishna. Adbhuta karmana, whose activities are wonderful. Kamsaya, to Kamsa. Atha, then. Aha, spoke. Bhagavan, the powerful sage. Narada, Narad. Devadarsana, whose vision is godly. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. After Aristasura had been killed by Krishna, who acts wonderfully, Narada Muni went to speak to King Kamsa. That powerful sage of godly vision addressed the king as follows. Purport. The term Devadarsana can be understood in many ways, all of which are consistent with the context and purport of this narration. Deva means God, and Darshana means seeing or an audience with a great personality. Thus, Devadarsana, a name for Narada Muni, indicates that Narada had attained the perfection of seeing God, that getting Narada's audience is as good as getting God's, since Narada is a pure representative of the Lord, and also that Narada's audience is as good as that of the demigods, who are also known as Devas. That there are all these meanings of the term Devadarsana reveals something of the richness of the Srimad Bhagavatam's language. From the Puranas, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has quoted 20 verses describing a joking conversation between Radha and Krishna that took place after Krishna had killed the demon Arishta. This conversation, so kindly quoted by the Acharya, describes the origin of Radhakund and Shyamakund, Radha's and Krishna's bathing ponds. The verses are as follows. The innocent young gopi said, "Ah, Krishna, don't touch us now, O killer of a bull. Alas, even though Arishta was a terrible demon, still he was a male cow. So you will have to undergo atonement, just as Lord Indra did after killing Vritrasura. But how can you purify yourself without going to the trouble of visiting every single holy place in the three worlds?" Krishna replied, "Why should I have to wander throughout the entire universe? I will at once bring all the countless pilgrimage places here and take my bath in them. Just watch." With this, Lord Mukunda struck his heel on the ground. Then he said, "This is the water of the Bhagavati river, coming from the Patala region. And now, O holy places, all of you please come here." When the Supreme Lord had spoken these words, all the holy places went there and appeared before him. Krishna then addressed the gopis as follows: "See all the holy places." But the gopis replied, "We don't see them as you describe." Then those best of holy places, joining their palms in supplication, spoke up. "I am the salt ocean. I am the ocean of milk. I am the Amara Dirgika. I am the river Sona. I am the Sindhu. I am the Tamraparni. I am the holy place Pushkara. I am the river Saraswati. And we are the Godavari, Jamuna, and Reva rivers, and the confluence of the rivers at Prayag. Just see our waters." After purifying himself by bathing, Lord Hari became quite arrogant and said, "I have produced a pond containing all the various holy places, whereas you gopis must never have executed any religious duties on this earth for the pleasure of Lord Brahma." Then Srimati Radharani addressed her girlfriends as follows: "I must create an even more beautiful pond, so go to work." Having heard these words, the gopis saw that Aristasura's hooves had dug a shallow ditch just west of Sri Krishna's pond. At that nearby spot, all the gopis began digging up lumps of soft mud with their hands, and in this way a divine pond manifested in the short span of an hour. Krishna was astonished to see the lake they produced. He said, Go ahead, lotus-eyed one. You and your companions should fill this pond with water from mine." But Radha replied, "No, no, no, no. This is impossible, since the water of your pond is contaminated by your terrible sin of killing a cow. I will have my countless gopi companions bring the pure water of the Manasa Ganga here in billions of pots. In this way I will fill this lake with my own water and thus make its renown unequaled in the entire world." Lord Krishna then gestured to the heavenly personality, who was an intimate associate of all the holy places. Suddenly that person rose up out of Krishna's pond and bowed down to the daughter of Sri Vrishabhanu, Radharani. Then with palms joined and tears pouring from his eyes, he began praying to her in devotion. "O goddess, even Lord Brahma himself, the knower of all scriptures, cannot understand your glories, nor can Lord Shiva or Lakshmi. Only Krishna, the supreme goal of all human endeavor, can understand them, and thus he feels obliged to personally make sure that you can wash away your perspiration when you are fatigued. He is always anointing your lotus feet with nectarian, charu, and yavaka, and decorating them with ankle bells. And he rejoices and feels most fortunate simply by satisfying the tips of the toes of your lotus feet. On his order, we have immediately come here to live in this most excellent pond, which he created by one stroke of his heel. But only if you now feel satisfied with us and bestow upon us your merciful glance will the tree of our desire bear fruit." Hearing this prayer spoken by the representative of the full assembly of holy places, Sri Radha was pleased and said, "So kindly, tell me your desire." They then told her plainly, "Our lives would be successful if we could come to your pond. That is the benediction we desire." Glancing at her beloved from the corners of her eyes, the daughter of Vrishabhanu replied with a smile, "Please come." Her gopi companions all agreed with her decision and became immersed in the ocean of happiness. Indeed, the beauty of all creatures, both mobile and stationary, was enhanced. Thus, gaining the grace of Srimati Radharani, the holy rivers and lakes in Sri Krishna Kund forcibly broke through its boundary walls and swiftly filled Radhakund with their waters. Lord Hari then said, "My dear Radha, may this pond of yours become even more world-renowned than mine. I will always come here to bathe and to enjoy my water pastimes. Indeed, this lake is as dear to me as you are." Radha replied, I will come to bathe in your lake as well, even though you may kill hundreds of Arista demons here. In the future, anyone who has intense devotion for this lake, which is on the spot where you chastise Aristasura, and who bathes or resides here, is sure to become very dear to me. That night, Lord Krishna initiated a rasa dance at Radhakund, generating a torrent of the greatest mood of splendorous pleasure. Sri Krishna resembled a cloud, and Srimati Radharani a brilliant flash of lightning, filling the sky with abundant beauty. In this way, their divine glories permeated the expanses of the three worlds. As a final note, it should be mentioned that Narada Muni, being a great sage, understood that the killing of Arista more or less concluded the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. Therefore, Narada, anxious to facilitate the transferal of Krishna's pastimes to Mathura, approached Kamsa and addressed him as follows. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuramilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutle Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Desha Tarine. Now, while preparing for this auspicious day of Bahulastami, we naturally go to Prabhupada's books, and then if we don't have enough material there, we go to the six Goswamis' literatures. And it turns out that according to Jiva Goswami, Radhakund and this pastime of the killing of Aristasura actually occurred on the Chaitra Purnima, which is not now. So then you have to search further. What is Bahulastami? And why are we celebrating Bahulastami? And why are we recommended to bathe in Radhakund on this particular day or night? So then you have to search further. There's the Hari Bhakti Vilas, where Srila Sanatana Goswami, he gives quotations from the Padma Purana, Vishnu Purana, about the glories of Bahulastami, that anyone who bathes in Radhakund on this night becomes Hari Priya, very dear to the Lord. But he doesn't say what Bahulastami is. Then Srila Rupa Goswami, in the Upadeshamrita, there are only 11 slokas in Upadeshamrita, beginning from Vaidhi Bhakti up to Mahabhava. The last 3 he dedicates to the glories of Radhakund and the importance of bathing there, residing there, serving there. There are many other shastras that describe the glories of Radhakund, but Bahu Astami is a mystery. Some say that Radhakund is contained within the small forest of Bahulavan. Some say that on this day, the Bahula Leela took place between the cow and the calf and the tiger. Some say Bahula is a Saki. Some say this Astami, another name is Ahoy Astami. Now who is Ahoy? Ahoy Devi. Some say Ahoy Devi is Srimati Radharani, and the word Ahoy is the same as Asamurdva. No one is equal or better than her. Some say that Ahoy Devi is Parvati, and you'll see if anyone has ever gone to the midnight bathing, people are carrying peta. Now, why are they carrying peta? This goes on locally in Braj, and this Ahoy Astami is also celebrated all over India. Ahoy Devi, by worshiping her, she gives special protection to the children. So the mothers, they fast on this day for their children. And another reason for worshiping Ahoy Devi is any woman who doesn't have a child, who's desiring a child, you'll see at Radhakund, The husband and the wife will stand together. They'll hold the peta, the Kusmanda. Another name is Kusmanda Devi that they worship. They'll put a red cloth and they'll offer that peta into Radhakund with the desire to have a child. There are many folk legends why this happened, why they worship Ahoy Devi on this day. But the more you research, the more opinions there are, the more controversies there are. Some say that Lord Chaitanya came to Vrindavan from September to Kartik, and it's on this day that he rediscovered Radhakund. Some adamantly oppose that. They say, no, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in Margashirsha, and he only stayed till Magh. So anywhere you look, there are different opinions. So while preparing for this presentation of the glories of Bahulastami and Radhakund, I remembered two slokas in the Brahma Samhita. The first is the 5th sloka. The 5th sloka is very long because Brahmaji is giving a geographical description of the spiritual world. In the center is Goloka Vrindavan. And around Goloka Vrindavan is Svetadvip, the Vaikuntha planets. And outside of the Vaikuntha planets, he describes 10 tridents. Not the metal tridents, the Trishulas that we think of. These tridents, past, present, and future, the attributes of the material world, such as Shri, Shruta, good birth, Janma, wealth, all of these attributes that are aspired are the tridents that keep the aspiring transcendentalist out of the spiritual world. Now, that's the 5th verse. Then the 34th verse, we all know this one. Pantastu koti satta vatsara sambramanyo vayor tapi manaso munipunganam. Pata, you can take the path for koti satta vatsara. That's 1,000 times 10 million years, trying to understand spiritual life and the spiritual world. And you can go at the speed of the mind, the speed of the wind, and the Munis, they travel like that, millions of years, and they can never reach Goloka Vrindavan. So if we try to understand Bahulastami by arguing, by controversy, by opinions, we will be struck by these tridents. What we need to do is understand the eternal nature of Radhakund and Shyamakund and how to worship and enter into the presence of that precinct. Now, when we approach Radhakund and Shyamakund, actually in the spiritual world, everything is based on sound vibration. The mantras that we chant, all of these are what constitutes the spiritual world. So the sound vibrations that are given to us in the Shastras and also by the Goswamis, that way we can enter into Radhakund and Shyamakund. Not only are there tridents protecting Goloka Vrindavan and the spiritual world, Krishna, because this is his most sacred spot for enjoying with Srimati Radharani, in the Astakaliya Leela, from 1048 to 336, Radha and Krishna are enjoying in this place together. And outside the boundaries, he tells gopis that you watch this gate and you make sure that the cowherd boys don't come looking for me. If they come, you redirect them. Another gopi, you watch this gate, make sure that the rival gopis are not coming. Saibya, Padma, you send them in other directions. Then another one, the elderly gopis, sometimes Jatila, sometimes Mukara, they come looking for Radha and Krishna. You send them somewhere else. Any disturbing elements, these gopis They're redirecting. Then, if you can get past those gopis, you have at all of the 4 gates of Radhakund, you have swarms of intoxicated bees guarding the gates. Now, I consider all of these controversies, opinions, and things that are blocking us to be just like these bees that will sting us, because we'll never be able to enter and understand Radhakund if we contemplate on these controversies. So when we get past these controversies and understand the eternal nature of Radhakund, Shyamakund, and Krishna's eternal Leela, then we can reach the gates. Now, at the gates, there are 4 gates. And Krishna has his most powerful assistants guarding those gates. In the north gate, we have Muralika. Now, we don't know much about Muralika. Prabhupada didn't give us much information about her. On the west gate, we have Menaka. Also, we don't know much about Menaka. On the south gate, we have Vrindarika. We don't know much about Vrindarika. But on the eastern gate, we have our beloved Srimati Ranga Devi. And every day, Srila Prabhupada has instructed us morning and evening to worship Srimati Ranga Devi. When Ranga Devi descends to this material world, she accepts the unlimited forms of the tulsi plants. Therefore, we worship her in all of Prabhupada's temples, supposed to be morning and evening. And he's given us mantras for praying to her. Morae abilas, bilas kunje diovas. Nayane haribo sada jugala ruparasi. That my desire, morae abilas, bilas kunje diovas, to live in these groves. Because Radhakund and Shyamakund are surrounded by the groves of the gopis. So if we pray to Vrinda Devi, perhaps she'll allow us in through her gate. Now once we enter, now we're in the most intimate precincts of Radha and Krishna's pastimes. And we see Radharani's Kund. It has 4 corners, and Krishna's Kund is polygonal. Polygon has many sides. Krishna's Kund is the shape of his foot when he pressed his heel down. And Radharani's Kund, by digging out with their kankan, they were able to make the kankan Kund original. Now in each of the 4 corners, the corners are anointed with many jewels. And there are 4 large swings. One swing is hanging from a mango tree, one from a champak tree, one from a kadamba tree, one from a bokul tree. And in each of the 8 directions, Radharani has given to her 8 principal gopis a grove, a kunja. The largest kunja is overseen by Lalita Devi. That's in the north. Now this kund is so spectacular, kunj. It has a beautiful palace, 3 stories high, with 16 rooms. And each room has a different manner of enjoyment for Radha and Krishna. It has a beautiful 1,000-petaled lotus place for Radha and Krishna to stand with the gopis. It has gardens of the 6 seasons, because we've already left behind past, present, and future. But in the spiritual world, all of the 6 seasons, they appear at the same time. And in each of these 6 seasons groves, we have Basanta, that's spring. So in the springtime, Radha and Krishna like to enjoy Holi. After Basanta, we have Grisham, the hot season. So in the hot season, they like their Jala Keli. They like to do their water pastimes. After the hot season, we have the rainy season. In the rainy season, we have Julan, where they swing. After the rainy season, there's then autumn, That's when Radha and Krishna enjoy their rasa lila. And then after autumn time is the early winter time. Early winter time, it's getting chilly, so Radha and Krishna enjoy their madhupan lila. That's the drinking of honey together. And finally, in the winter time is cold at night, nice in the daytime. In the daytime, they have picnics. And when it's cold, they go into the rooms and they play dice and other inside games. So Radha and Krishna can enjoy all the 6 seasons all at once in Lalita Devi's Kunj. After Lalita Devi's Kunj in the north, there's a northeast. Now that's Vishakha Devi's Kunj. Vishakha Devi, she has an entire different type of kunj. Her kunj has 4 gigantic champaka trees. And they're so big that their branches intertwine together, just like a beautiful palace. And growing on these trees are Madhavi vines. So when Radha and Krishna enter into Vishakha's kunja, it's very cooling, just like a forest in the shape of a palace. Now we have north, northeast, we have east. Yes, multicolored. Chitra Devi. Now, Chitra Devi, all different colored flowers are in her place, her kunja, and she has statues of birds and trees and humans and demigods. And just like we would go to an amusement park, we would see different dioramas. Radha and Krishna enjoy in Chitra Devi's multifarious kunj in that way. Now, after these 3, we have the 5 colored different kunjas of the gopis. And that is the first one, Induleka. Indu means the moon. And in Induleka's kunj, everything is white. The mosaic floors are white, the sitting places are white, the trees are white, the peacocks are white, the parrots are white, the flowers are white, everything is white. And on Purnima, Radha and Krishna also dress up in white and they enjoy at Induleka's kunja. Then after white comes gold. Now, we're in the south now. Champakalata. She's in charge of the southern kunja. Champakalata and Vrinda Devi, they have their kitchens there. Vrinda Devi has hundreds and thousands of assistants in all of the kunjas, preparing things for Radha and Krishna's pleasure. But in Champakalata's kunj, they cook, and they prepare so many wonderful preparations. And there, everything is golden. So Krishna likes the kunja of Champakalata very much, because everything he sees being golden reminds him of Srimati Radharani. After Champakalata's kunj, we have Ranga Devi. Now Ranga Devi, her kunj is blue. And this is Radharani's favorite kunj. Because everything that she sees, the tamal trees, the blue flowers, the blue birds, everything, the blue floors, everything reminds her of Krishna. So you have white, gold, blue, and then you have Tungavidya's kunj. In Tungavidya's kunj, everything is red. Everything you see is red. And they enjoy there as they're walking through the kunjas around Radhakund. And then finally you have Sudevi's kunj, where everything is green. So Radha and Krishna enjoy these 8 groves of the 8 principal gopis. And in the center of Radhakund is the place of Ananga Manjari. Now Ananga Manjari, she's the younger sister of Radharani. She's eternally about 13 years old. And she has a very spectacular service to perform. Because we know, we never hear about Balaram taking part in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. He hides when he sees Radha and Krishna. He doesn't want to disturb their pastimes. And he's dejected because he wants to serve them both so much, but how can he enter? It's a different rasa. So through his consort, Ananga Manjari, he's able to serve the divine couple Radha and Krishna, because Ananga Manjari, being the younger sister of Radharani, she's always with Radharani just like a shadow. So from Ananga Manjari's place in the center portion of Radhakund, there's a bridge that goes to Lalita Devi's Kunj, and that's where Janava Devi's bathing place is. Because all of the pastimes are exactly intact between Gaura Leela and Krishna Leela. So this is the Radhakund geography, how Radha and Krishna enjoy through the groves and enjoy their different pastimes in the different seasons. Now in Krishna's Kund, Shama Kund, he has entrusted that to the 8 Priyanarma Gopas, the Sakas. But the Sakas, sometimes Marumangal is present, sometimes Subal is present. Mostly the Sakas don't take part in these intimate leelas of Radha and Krishna. Although they do everything, it's their life to bring them together. So they have turned over their kunjas, to the 8 principal gopis in the same directions, except for one, and that is in the northwest. The northwest is Subal's kunj. He has given that to Srimati Radharani. And as Srimati Radharani said in these slokas from the Puranas, that she will bathe every day in Shama Kund. She goes to that kunja, Manasa Pavana Ghat, and she bathes there at 12 o'clock noon every single day. Then from there, Marumangal, he gave his kunj to Lalita Devi, and Ujjvala gave his kunj to Vishaka Devi. And Arjuna, this is the Arjuna Saka in Braj, Arjuna gave his kunja to Chitra Devi. Then we have Gandharva, he gave his kunja to Induleka. So it all goes around in the same form as the Radhakund gopis. After Gandharva, you have Vidagdha. Vidagdha gave his kunj to Champakalata. Then you have Kokila. He gave his kunj to Ranga Devi. Then finally you have Sanandananda. He gave his kunj to Tungavidya. So not only are the gopis in charge of the Radhakund kunjas, but also they oversee all of the pastimes around Shama Kund. Now when Radha and Krishna have their pastimes, just like with any contests, you have 2 groups. And Radha and Krishna, they also have their groups, their cheerleading groups. When they have their Jalakeli, in Radharani's group, you have Vrinda Devi, you have Nandimukhi. You know who Nandimukhi is? She is the granddaughter, she is the sister of Marumangal. And they're both the grandchildren of Purnamasi. Purnamasi is the disciple of Narada Muni. And Narada Muni told Purnamasi that Krishna will be appearing here in Braj. So Purnamasi brought her 2 grandchildren. And Nandimukhi is on the side of Radharani, and Marumangal, he's on the side of Krishna. So the cheerleaders of Radharani are Nandimukhi, and Nandimukhi, Vrinda Devi, and Dhanishta. Dhanishta brings Radharani from Yashoda's house, she takes part in many pastimes. But they can't say Ra, 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 because if they say Ra, 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 then Krishna, he becomes completely absorbed in the sound vibration of Ra. So they have to say Jai, Jai, Jai whenever Radharani is being successful. And then on Krishna's team, he has for his cheerleaders, he has Marumangal, he has Subal, and he has Kundalata. Now Kundalata, why in the world is she going to be on Krishna's side? That's because Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, His elder brother is Upananda. Upananda, he had 3 sons that were older than Krishna. And one of those sons' names is Subhadra. Subhadra married Kundalata. So Kundalata is part of the family, Nanda Maharaj's family. So she stays on that side. And whenever they see Krishna winning in the games, they also cheer him on. In that way, everyone is engaged in enjoying the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And everyone simultaneously is working to go on with these pastimes eternally. There might be some question. What is the significance of Radhakund? Why is it so important? It's because these most intimate pastimes take place. Now, we'll never understand the glories of Radharani and Krishna, because even Lord Chaitanya, he came just to understand the glories of Srimati Radharani and her different types of pleasure in enjoying his love. So we can compare this. There's a beautiful bhajan by Vasudev Ghosh, and he's saying Jai Jai Jagannath. Now Jagannath is a very mysterious form of the Supreme Lord. No one quite knows who he is, and just like with Radhakund, everyone has their opinions. So Vasudev Ghosh, he says that some people say that you're Sachinandan. Some people say that you're Krishna, who manifested Goloka Vrindavan. And Keho, Bole, some people say that you're Lord Ram and you killed the 10-headed Ravana. I say, Vasudev Ghosh, I say that Ye Gora, say Krishna, say Jagannath. They're all together. And that is Lord Jagannath. So just like with Radhakund, on this night, Bahulastami, and not everyone bathes at night. Some people come in the daytime. They say that the pastime happened in the daytime. And now, as of 2019, the GBC has confirmed, according to Jiva Goswami's commentary on the 10th canto, that the killing of Aristasura and the manifestation of Radhakund actually occurred in the month of Chaitra, the Purnima, when Krishna was arranging to have his pastime of rasa, at that time, the spring rasa. It was nighttime. It was between 10 and 12 where this pastime took place. Aristasura came at dusk time, at nighttime. He was killing the cows. He was causing miscarriages amongst the cows and the women. And Krishna, between 10 and 11, he took the time to kill Aristasura. And then between 11 and 12, the kundas were created. So Radhakund and Shyamakund, any way we approach Radhakund and Shyamakund, because everyone has their different mentalities, their different rasas, and their different desires. For instance, those husbands and wives who are carrying the peta, they want a son from Radhakund, and many other people have many other desires that they go and pray to Radhakund and pray to Govardhan for. And we're asking all the devotees, please don't bother Govardhan and Radhakund with your material desires. You go there, and by hearing a little, just a pinch of the glories of Radhakund and Shyamakund, you simply remember the beautiful pastimes that are eternally going on there, while we are immersed here in our own pastimes in the material world. You go there, if you choose to bathe. Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, they did not bathe in Radhakund. Prabhupada explained to us that the waters of Radhakund are liquid prem. Radharani is feeling separation from Krishna. Krishna is feeling separation from Radharani. and their tears of separation combined fill these kunds. So it's liquid prem. Prabhupada and also the Shastras say that this Radhakund is non-different from Srimati Radharani. So how can you touch your feet to Radhakund? Therefore, he recommended us to simply take some drops of water and put that on our head respectfully. He didn't forbid the devotees to bathe. And again, we have so many, the buzzing bees, so many controversial statements. No, but Rupa Goswami says to bathe as much as possible. Rupa Goswami says to reside at the banks of Radhakund. So again, stay away from those buzzing bees that will sting you so that you can't understand the internal glories of Radhakund. Now I'll just tell one little experience I had with Srila Prabhupada regarding this day, just to confuse you all more. Srila Prabhupada, this is 1974. This is before Upadeshamrit was printed. Prabhupada printed it in 1976. But we had come here and bathed in Radhakund fully, not knowing the glories of Radhakund, and taken some water. And then Prabhupada allowed me to serve him in Bombay. He sent us there to start the library party. So every morning, I would clean Prabhupada's room, and that morning, on Bahulastami, I put a bottle of Radhakund water on Prabhupada's desk. Then we would go out to the places where Prabhupada told us to go each day for the library distribution, and we would come back in the evening and report to Prabhupada which schools, which colleges took Prabhupada's books. He was always looking forward to hearing which schools took his books. So that night, because it was Bahulastami, I had a burning desire to serve at Radhakund. So I asked Srila Prabhupada, I said, Srila Prabhupada, all of the major temples in Vrindavan have their miniature temples around Radhakund and Shyamakund. Could we make a temple of Krishna Balaram there also? And he said, oh, that's a very good idea. You can do it any time. And then he stopped. And he was silent. And then he looked at me. And he said, what will you do there? I said, preach. He said, no. Radhakund is not for preaching. Radhakund is for relishing. Then he was silent again, and then he smiled, and he said, it's a good idea. So when Prabhupada told me, Radhakund is not for preaching, now we have, as we sing every night, the Gopi-Gita, we have the 9th sloka. When Prataparudra Maharaj sang the Gopi-Gita to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri, when Prataparudra Maharaj came to this 9th sloka, Tava katamritam tapta jivanam, we all know that. It's the most relishable for the Gostanandis, this sloka. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard him sing that sloka, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him, thanked him for singing this Gopi-Gita. Now, Tava Katamritam Tapta Jivanam. Why are we here? Why did we become followers of Srila Prabhupada? Why are we serving in ISKCON despite so many inconveniences, being a member of a huge worldwide institution? We have joined ISKCON Tapta Jivanam to help relieve the living entities, the human beings, and everyone else of the miseries of the material world by preaching the glories of Sri Krishna's holy name. So when Srila Prabhupada told me that Radhakund is not for preaching, Radhakund is for relishing, I decided right then, at that moment, then I don't belong in Radhakund. Because my desire is Prabhupada's desire. And Prabhupada's desire is to preach Krishna consciousness all over the world. Now, if we want to reside in Radhakund, just as there are 3 yog pits, the morning yog pit, which is at Gupt Kund, that's where Vrindakund is, the midday yog pit, which is Radhakund, they spend almost 6 hours there, and the nighttime yog pit is here at Govindastali, where the rasa dance goes on. There are many, many Babajis, many great devotees of the Lord, who meditate, Prabhupada describes this in the Nectar Devotion a little bit, on the Astakaliya Leela. That's the 8-fold pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and the 8-fold pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he's Radha Krishna combined. And through their meditation and their chanting of Hare Krishna, they visit these 3 yog pits every single day and meditate on the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in these 3 places. Now, Prabhupada warned us that these pastimes of the Supreme Lord, it's not a spectator sport. That, yes, we go live at Radhakund, and all these pastimes are going on there, and we are simply spectating these pastimes. No. These pastimes are to enrich our preaching, so that without, just like the 6 Goswamis, without, they were preaching vigorously, writing so many books, making the foundation of this entire Krishna consciousness movement. And internally, they were fully absorbed in remembering the pastimes of the Lord. So we have 2 activities going on at the same time. And this is also Srila Prabhupada, just before he reached America. He expressed his mood that I just long to frolic with you again in the fields in Vrindavan. So Prabhupada was going to preach to an unknown country, unknown people, all meat-eaters. At the same time, internally, he was remembering his particular rasa with Krishna. These 2 things always go together, and we should not become simply spectators, only relishing. Our duty as members of ISKCON, as followers of Srila Prabhupada, and as Rupanugas, our duty is to help relieve the entire humanity of the pangs of suffering due to forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord. So by sound vibration, we can always be residing in Radhakund. You see, I have the full permission from Srila Prabhupada to make a temple, to make an ashram at Radhakund. But what am I doing? I'm distributing books all day long, trying to at least. So this is, for my own life, this is my realization of darshan of Radhakund. Internally, we're remembering the pastimes, and externally, we're simply trying to help relieve all the living entities of their forgetfulness of Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes, Maharaj. So nice to have you in Vrindavan again after a long time.
It's so wonderful to hear from you, and also the amazing recent personal realization in relation to Srila Prabhupada's interaction. Just to support what you said, towards the end especially, His Holiness Swami told me that if one wants to experience the love of the gopis' love for Krishna, Srila Prabhupada said that one should spread Krishna consciousness all over the world.
Yes.
And I have a question, is that all right? Does Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj allow the existence of Radhakund and Shyamakund?
I have never...
Because you mentioned that Balaram does not know about this expansion.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm not sure whether they know that Radhakund and Shyamakund exist. They may go past that place, but they do not know. I'm not sure whether they know.
It's a very well protected, top secret area. And in the early morning pastimes, Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj and the other residents of Nandagram and where Krishna is residing with Balaram, they all want to follow Krishna into the forest. And Krishna convinces them that, to Mother Yasoda he says, you have to cook my lunch. If you don't cook my lunch, then you'll have nothing to send me for lunch. So he convinces them to go back, take your bath, worship the Supreme Lord, satisfy all of your subordinates, send me my lunch. He gives them duties to perform. And as soon as they turn around and go back, and he's going into the forest, there's great relief on his part that now I'm free to enjoy just like an elephant in the jungle, because I'm not under the gaze of my superiors anymore. So it would be total rasabasa. Sometimes when Jatila and Mukura come, and Radha and Krishna, they have different camouflages. When Jatila comes, they're in Ranga Devi's kunj, the blue kunj. No, they're in Champagalata's kunj, the golden kunj. So she sees Krishna, but she can't see Radharani because she blends in with the golden hue there. So even if she enters, she can't actually enter and understand the pastimes that are going on. Mukara comes, she goes, and she sees Radharani there in Ranga Devi's kunja, and she only sees Radharani because Krishna is completely camouflaged by the blue colors in Ranga Devi's kunj. So even if, just like when we go to Radhakund, what do we see? Can we see the pastimes going on? So even if the elderly gopis, I would say Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Maharaj, even if they went there, how much Leela can be seen? Because it's not their rasa.
Beautifully explained. Thank you very much.
So we'll end here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.